Welcome back to Kaijumania. I'm Rocket, and this week is a little bit different as I'm quite sick, and if my face is on camera right now, you'd assume this is some sort of Halloween special. But enough about me. Today we're here to talk about a heavyweight rematch nearly 60 years in the making. Godzilla vs Kong.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless.
We start off somewhere on Skull Island and we get to see Kong's morning routine. He's scratching his arse, he's having a shower, he does a quick 45 on the treadmill, he has a fry up, he then takes a morning stroll through the park and he meets an adorable little girl who's made a Kong plush out of elephant dung and seaweed. Kong is then practicing his javelin techniques when we learn that he's actually inside a massive containment unit. We meet one of our characters called Bernie. He's a podcaster and there's something strange in this neighbourhood, so who's he going to call? Godzilla. And this has got to be one of the best scenes in the film. Godzilla just unapologetically starts laying waste to Florida. In fact, Godzilla got so excited about this heel turn that he forgot why he's even in Florida. Anyway, we get our first nod to 62 as we see Kong on, well, not a raft, but on a boat. No cover, by the way. He's absolutely pissing it down and they've not even given this guy a brolly. We do learn two things about Kong though. Firstly, he's been taking ASL lessons. And no, that doesn't mean he's been logging on MSN and going age, sex, location. No, he's been learning American Sign Language and he's pretty good at it. Secondly, he eats a lot of fish.
A lot of fish.
Godzilla has sensed Kong's presence and we're gearing up for our first fight. It's champion versus champion, meeting quite early on in the film. Let's go! So Kong knows something's up, he roars into the sea. Godzilla pops up like Jaws, knocks Kong into the water. We get a colossal tussle under the sea. The chains are released on Kong, but Kong manages to get a headbutt in and get back on board. Kong then ninja warriors over a few boats where Godzilla meets up with him. Kong gives Godzilla a big right hook, but Godzilla just takes it. And then he retaliates with a bitch slap, taking Kong straight off his feet. Kong manages to scramble to his feet and elbow Godzilla off the boat. And then Godzilla unleashes his atomic breath. Kong John McClane's off the boat. And it's at that moment, Kong's fucked because he's played right into Godzilla's hands as Godzilla takes him underwater to finish the job, to drown him and retain his belt. However, Kong's corner help out the humans that he unleash a weapon, distract Godzilla, manage to get Kong back to safety. Kong gets back on the boat, he gets the spit bucket, he throws up into that, he's having a word with his manager gets the torch in his eyes. It's like, you look, you're done. Kong throws in the towel, forfeits the title, Godzilla's smiling. Godzilla. We cut back to Bernie. He's picked up a couple of teammates. He's now got 11 and a Kiwi as they discover a magical train that goes from Florida to Hong Kong. Meanwhile, Kong's attached to some helicopters, another nod to 62. We drop him in the snow briefly so we can have him looking like Blizzard from Primal Rage, and we then convince Kong he has to go down a giant hole that goes to the middle of the earth. But it's not only Kong that finds its way to Middle Earth, as it seems news travels as well, because two wombats have turned up and they've heard that Kong lost his title. Here we have it, our second fight for the #1 contender, Kong versus the wombats. And straight away Kong deals with one of them by using him like a baseball bat and bashing the other's brains in. A wombat, however, does wrap himself around Kong and starts to suffocate him. He's got Kong on his knees. Kong is literally about to die. It's at this point that Kong's corner intervene yet again, get some weapons fired off at the wombat so Kong can break free, rip the wombat's head off and drink from its skull. So with interference from his corner, a bit of a dodgy one, but Kong manages to win, and your #1 contender, narrowly, Kong. Team Podcast have now arrived at an unmanned train station which leads directly into a fight pit. Bit of a dangerous where to get off a train, but none of that really matters, because we're here to see the reveal of Mechagodzilla, the very first Jaeger in the legendary monsterverse, who is now more than just an eye.
More than meets the eye.
As he makes his in-ring debut against an undersized Skullcrawler. No, this fight, well, it's not even a fight. Mechagodzilla picks up the Skullcrawler and just lasers it in half. However, Mechagodzilla isn't on his own, as he's being piloted by Ken Watanabe's son, and he finds the laser very satisfying.
It's as satisfying to me as coming is.
This fight doesn't go unnoticed, however, as Godzilla hears about it and he's straight down to Hong Kong looking for a fight. He can't quite find Mechagodzilla, so he decides why not just blow a giant hole in the earth and see what happens. He does that, and luckily this hole leads right to where Kong is in Hollow Earth. King Kong then makes his way to Hong Kong. It takes him about 30 seconds. Godzilla turns around and we get our rematch.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Kong misses with the axe. Godzilla starts ragdolling Kong around, but Kong gets out, hits Godzilla with a Superman punch. Godzilla at this point starts using his atomic breath everywhere, just laying waste the city. Kong is getting the fuck out of Dodge, he wants no part of that. But he does get singed by the atomic breath. Godzilla then starts laughing, and why wouldn't he? However, Kong manages to pull off some sick parkour skills, and as Godzilla unleashes his atomic breath, Kong blocks it with his axe and smashes Godzilla right in his face, sending him clean through a building. It's at this point Kong's corner are saying, looks like round 2 goes to Kong. But no, we cut away for less than 90 seconds, and it should be noted we do a lot more cutting away in previous movies for more than 90 seconds. And we come back to Hong Kong quite fastly, and King Kong, even he didn't think the fight was over, because he's perched on a turnbuckle ready to throw a frigging crane at Godzilla's head. So even he doesn't think he's won this match, so the fight's not over yet. And Godzilla gets up, and he's a bit pissed off, so he goes to spear Kong. Kong gets out of the way. Godzilla goes headfirst into a turnbuckle. Now Godzilla's really pissed off, so he starts beating the shit out of Kong at this point. Swiping, slashing, smacking, stomping. Gets Kong down. Kong goes right down. Stomped on the chest. Kong is down and out. Godzilla roars into his face. Kong roars back into his face, but Godzilla's got his shoulders down, pins him to the mat. 1, 2, 3, and still your undisputed champion, Godzilla. Godzilla then leaves Kong to die, and he
dies.
He walks off into the night. At this point the camera pans up as we hear the voice of Tekken waiting for Kong to put a credit into the machine.
Continue.
But he just can't go on. And listen, I love Kong, I really do. He's my first kaiju love, but there is just no way he was ever going to take on Godzilla. We don't love Kong because he's the best. We love Kong because he's the underdog, he's the fighter, he doesn't quit. He's like Rocky Balboa. However, Mechagodzilla has now woken up and he's decided he doesn't like having a pilot inside of his head. So he fries Ken Watanabe's son's brains out and goes on a rampage. So Mechagodzilla is purely powered by the bones of a kaiju, which is a nice little nod to Kaiju. Although one thing I wished it would have took more of a nod is the design. Because this is the 5th incarnation of Mechagodzilla we've seen on silver screen. And unfortunately, this is probably my least favourite. So, and just if you're curious, number 5, this version. Number 4, Ready Player One. Number 3, Heisei Super Godzilla. Number 2, Millennium Kaiju. And number 1, Showa Era Mecha 74. So here we have it, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Undisputed championship. Mechagodzilla gets in early with a rocket-powered Superman punch. He then grabs Godzilla by the back of the head and he is slamming him into all 4 turnbuckles. We then get Atomic Breath versus Mechagodzilla's Beam, and Mechagodzilla's Beam is put Godzilla down and Mechagodzilla is coming out on top. So we cut away for more than 90 seconds, I should point out, and we get to see Kong. He gets defibbed by his team, he lethal weapons his shoulder back in his socket, and he joins in on the fight. Mechagodzilla is about to beam inside Godzilla's throat, but all of a sudden Mechagodzilla's got a monkey on his shoulder. Kong and Godzilla burst slide Mechagodzilla through a building, embarrassing in Mechagodzilla. Kong then enziguris Mechagodzilla in the head. Mechagodzilla does manage to get back into the fight, but only briefly, in which Team Podcast pour whiskey onto a computer, disrupting Mechagodzilla briefly, which gives Godzilla just enough time to atomic breath Kong's axe, and Kong goes apeshit, ripping Mechagodzilla limb from limb. Kong quickly then taps forward down forward high punch at close range and does Sub-Zero's spine rip. Kong gets you a big win over Mechagodzilla.
Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory fatality.
Godzilla retires to the sea, still your undisputed champion, and Kong retires to Hollow Earth. But that was Godzilla vs Kong, and I for one bloody love this film. For me, this is my favourite of the MonsterVerse films. Is it stupid? 100%. Does it make sense? 0%. Does any of that matter? Not at all. The title of this film is Godzilla vs Kong, and it friggin' delivers on that title. 2 thumbs up, must see. And in fact, I had so much fun with this film that I'm not going to end Kaijumania this week as planned. So, join us on Friday for 5 fun-time funky facts about Godzilla vs Kong, and join us next Tuesday for a franchise that shoulda, woulda, coulda been involved in this, but is no longer going to be the case, as we take a look at Pacific Rim.